Imagine being the youngest of seven, invisible in a family drowning in chaos, sickness, fights, and broken dreams. I was the quiet one, the easy kid, forgotten until they needed me to fix their mess. Years later, I built my own life, my own family friends who saw me when no one else did. Then the call came. Come home, save us. Torn between guilt and freedom, I faced a choice that would define me. This is my story, raw, real, and unrelenting. I was the last one born, the seventh in a line of kids that stretched my parents thin like an overused dish rag. By the time I came along, they were too tired to notice me, or maybe they just didn't care to. My siblings were a mess of loud, jagged edges. Daniel with his asthma that rattled the house every winter. Sarah with her teenage breakdowns that ended in slammed doors and broken glass. Michael, who ran off with some girl at 16 and never came back. Then there was Leah, who got sick, really sick when I was 9, and the whole family orbited around her hospital bed like she was the sun. I don't blame her for that. Cancer doesn't ask permission. Me? I was the quiet one, the easy one. I didn't cough through the night or scream about boys or disappear into the streets. I learned how to tie my shoes by watching my older brother Jake, figured out multiplication tables alone at the kitchen table while Mom chain smoked and Dad stared at the TV. No one asked if I needed help because I never gave them a reason to. I liked it that way, or at least I told myself I did. Being invisible meant I could slip through the cracks of their chaos, untouched by the shouting matches or the guilt trips that pinned my siblings down like butterflies on a board. Our house was a battlefield of neglect, cluttered with half-empty beer cans and unspoken resentments. Mom would cry sometimes, late at night when she thought we were asleep, her sobs leaking through the thin walls. Dad just worked long shifts at the factory, coming home with grease under his nails and a scowl that said, "Don't talk to me." They loved us, I think, in their own broken way, but it was a love stretched too far, diluted by too many mouths to feed and too many problems to fix. I got the leftovers. A distracted pat on the head, "You're fine, Ellie, right?" tossed over a shoulder as they rushed to someone else's crisis. School was my escape. I wasn't the smartest kid, but I was steady. Teachers liked me because I didn't cause trouble. I'd sit in the back, doodling in the margins of my notebooks little sketches of trees or birds, anything that felt free. That's where I met Tara. She plopped down next to me in 5th grade, all freckles and wild red hair, and said, "You're too quiet. Want to be friends?" I blinked at her, unsure if she was serious, but she just grinned and started talking about her dog, Max, who'd eaten her math homework. For the first time, someone saw me not as the shadow at the end of a crowded table, but as Ellie. Tara became my lifeline. She didn't care that my clothes were hand-me-downs 3 times over, or that I never invited her to my house. We'd spend hours at her place instead, sprawled on her bedroom floor, listening to scratched CDs and making up stories about running away to live in the woods. Her mom would bake cookies, actual warm, gooey cookies, and ask me how my day was. I'd mumble something vague, but she'd nod like it mattered. It was the first time I felt like I wasn't just taking up space. By high school, my family barely registered my existence. Leah was in remission, thank God, but the scars of her illness lingered. Mom hovering over her, Dad grunting about medical bills. Sarah had moved out, Jake was in and out of trouble, and Daniel still wheezed through every cold snap. I kept my head down, got a part-time job at the diner, and saved every penny I could. Tara and I added Jamie to our circle sophomore year, a lanky kid with a sharp laugh and a knack for fixing anything. The 3 of us were inseparable. A little trio of misfits who found each other in the wreckage of our teenage years. They were my real family, even if I didn't say it out loud. Tara knew when I was upset without me having to explain. Jamie would show up with a beat-up guitar and play stupid songs until I laughed. We'd sit on the hood of his old Chevy at the edge of town, staring at the stars, talking about everything and nothing. They didn't need me to be loud or broken or useful, they just wanted me there. For the first time, I felt like I belonged somewhere. I left home at 18, the day after graduation, packed a duffel bag, hugged Leah goodbye, she was the only one who noticed, and walked out. Mom called after me. "Where you going, Ellie?" But her voice was tired, not urgent. Dad didn't look up from the TV. I didn't answer. I moved 2 states away, got a job at a bookstore, and rented a tiny apartment with peeling paint and a window that overlooked a scrappy little park. Tara and Jamie visited when they could. We'd built something solid, something mine. Years slipped by, 10 of them, quiet and steady. I wasn't rich or famous, but I was okay. I had a life, friends who checked in, a cat named Juniper who slept on my chest, a job I didn't hate. My family faded into the background, a distant hum I rarely tuned into, until the phone rang one Tuesday night, shattering the peace I'd carved out for myself. It was Mom. Her voice was shaky, older than I remembered. "Ellie, we need you to come home." I gripped the receiver, my stomach twisting. "Why?" "It's Dad. He's sick. Real sick. And we can't do it alone anymore." I stared at the wall, my breath caught somewhere between anger and guilt. After all these years, after all that silence, they needed me now. Not because they missed me, not because they cared, but because I was the last one left to carry their mess. The phone felt heavy in my hand, like it was anchoring me to a place I'd spent years trying to forget. Mom's voice crackled through the line, thin and frayed, pleading in a way I wasn't used to. "Ellie, please, it's bad. He's got cancer lungs from all those years at the factory. We can't manage it. Leah's got her own kids now. Daniel's barely holding it together, and the rest, they're gone or useless. You're the only one who can help." I didn't say anything for a long time. Juniper purred against my leg, oblivious to the storm brewing inside me. The apartment was quiet except for the faint hum of the fridge, and I wished I could crawl into that silence and stay there. "Why me?" I finally asked, my voice tighter than I meant it to be. Mom sighed, a sound that carried decades of exhaustion. "You're strong, Ellie. You always were. You never needed us like the others did." I almost laughed, bitter, sharp, caught in my throat. Strong? No. I'd just been quiet, invisible, the one who didn't ask for anything because I knew I wouldn't get it. And now that was my punishment, being the reliable one, the one they could dump their wreckage on when it all fell apart. "I've got a life here," I said. "A job, friends. I can't just drop everything." "There's no one else," she said, and I heard the tears creeping in. "Please, Ellie, just come see him, see us. We'll figure it out." I hung up without promising anything. My hands shook as I set the phone down, and I pressed my palms against my eyes until I saw stars. I didn't owe them this. I didn't owe them anything. But the guilt was already there, gnawing at me like a rat in the walls, quiet but relentless. I called Tara that night. She picked up on the second ring, her voice warm and sleepy. "Hey, you okay? It's late." "They called," I said, and she knew who I meant without me explaining. "Dad's dying. They want me to come back." She was quiet for a beat, then, "Shit, what are you gonna do?" "I don't know." My voice cracked, and I hated it. "I don't want to go. But what if I don't and he dies and I spend the rest of my life wondering if I should have?" Tara didn't sugarcoat it. She never did. "They ignored you for years, Elle. You don't have to run back just because they're scared now. But if you think you'll regret it, maybe you go, see what's what, and get out fast. Your call." I slept on it, or tried to. Dreams came in fragments. Dad's grease-stained hands, Mom's cigarette smoke curling through the air, Leah's pale face in that hospital bed. I woke up with a headache and a decision I wasn't sure I believed in. I'd go just for a weekend. See him, see them, and leave. Closure, maybe. Or at least proof that I wasn't the heartless one. The drive back took 6 hours. The closer I got, the tighter my chest felt, like the air itself was pressing me down. Our old house looked smaller than I remembered, sagging under the weight of time. The paint was peeling, The porch steps creaked, and the yard was a tangle of weeds. I parked and sat there for a minute, gripping the steering wheel, telling myself I could still turn around. Mom opened the door before I could knock. She looked older, way older, her hair gray and thin, her face carved with lines I didn't recognize. "Ellie," she said, and pulled me into a hug that felt awkward and stiff. I let her, but I didn't hug back. Inside, the house smelled like stale coffee and medicine. Dad was in the recliner, a blanket draped over his lap, an oxygen tube snaking under his nose. He was a shadow of the man I remembered, gaunt, pale, his eyes sunken. He looked up at me, and for a second I thought he didn't know who I was. Then he rasped, "Hey kid, been a while." "Yeah," I said, shoving my hands in my pockets. "It has." We didn't talk much that first hour. Mom fussed over him, adjusting his blanket, pouring him water he didn't drink. She kept glancing at me like she was waiting for me to say something, maybe "I forgive you" or "I'll fix this." I didn't. I just watched, feeling like a stranger in a place that used to be mine. Leah showed up later with her 2 kids in tow, a boy and a girl, loud and sticky-fingered. She hugged me tight, her eyes wet. "I'm so glad you're here," she whispered. "It's been hell." I nodded, but I couldn't shake the question looping in my head. Where were you when I needed someone? Leah had been the closest to me growing up, but after she got better, she'd drifted into her own life, married young, had kids, stayed near Mom and Dad. I didn't blame her for that, but I'd been alone, and she hadn't noticed. That night, Mom cornered me in the kitchen while I was rinsing a mug. "Ellie, we need to talk about what happens next," she said, her voice low. "He's not going to make it much longer. The bills are piling up and I can't work anymore. My back's shot. We need help." There it was. The real reason they'd called. Not to reconnect, not to apologize, just to unload their burden on me. "What kind of help?" I asked, keeping my tone even. "Money, for one, and maybe you could move back for a bit. Just until we get through this." I set the mug down hard enough that it clinked against the sink. "Move back? Mom, I have a job, an apartment. I can't just—" "You're doing fine out there," she cut in. "You don't have kids, no husband holding you down. We're your family, Ellie. We need you." I stared at her, the words sinking in like stones. You don't have kids? No husband? Like my life didn't count because it wasn't theirs. Like I owed them because I dared to build something for myself. "I'll think about it," I said, because I couldn't trust myself to say more. I went to the guest room, my old room, still cramped with junk, and lay on the lumpy mattress, staring at the ceiling. My phone buzzed with a text from Jamie. "How's it going? You surviving?" I typed back, "Barely. They want me to move here, fix everything." His reply came fast. "Hell no. You don't owe them your life." I didn't answer. I just lay there, torn between the girl who'd learned to survive by staying quiet and the woman who'd fought to build something better. They needed me now, sure, but where had they been when I was the one drowning? The next morning, I woke up to the sound of Dad coughing, a wet, hacking sound that echoed through the house. It wasn't even 7 a.m., but Mom was already up, shuffling around in the kitchen, the clink of a spoon against a mug cutting through the quiet. I stayed in bed for a while, staring at the water-stained ceiling, trying to piece together what I was feeling. Anger, sure. Guilt, too. But underneath it all was something heavier. Grief, maybe, for a family I'd never really had. I dragged myself downstairs eventually. Dad was back in his recliner, the TV flickering with some morning talk show he wasn't watching. His eyes flicked to me as I walked in. "Sleep okay?" he asked, his voice rough from the oxygen. "Yeah," I lied. "You?" He shrugged, a small, tired gesture. "Been better?" Mom handed me a mug of coffee black, the way I liked it, and sat down at the table. Her hands wrapped around her own cup like it was keeping her upright. "We need to finish that talk," she said, not looking at me. I took a sip, letting the bitterness ground me. "Okay, let's talk." She hesitated, then launched in. The hospital bills are through the roof. Insurance barely covers half. We've got savings, but it's gone fast meds, equipment, all of it. I can't work, Ellie. My back's been bad for years, and now with him like this." She trailed off, glancing at Dad. He didn't react, just stared at the TV. "How much?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. "Thousands," she said. "Tens of thousands, maybe. And it's not just money. Someone needs to be here. I can't lift him anymore, can't drive him to appointments. Leah's got the kids, Daniel's a mess, he's drinking again, and the others. They're not coming back." I set the mug down, my fingers tight around the handle. "So you want me to pay the bills and play nurse? That's the plan?" "Not all of it," she said quickly. "Just help. You've got a good job, no big expenses. You could take a leave, move back for a few months. We'd figure out the rest." I laughed, a short, sharp sound that made her flinch. "A few months? Mom, I've got a life. I can't just hit pause because you need me now." "Your family," she snapped, her voice rising. "That's what family does, steps up when it's hard." "Where was that when I was a kid?" The words slipped out before I could stop them, and they hung there, heavy and jagged. Mom's mouth tightened, and Dad finally looked at me, his eyes narrowing. "What's that supposed to mean?" he rasped. I took a breath, my heart pounding. "It means I was there too. I grew up in this house, same as the others, but I might as well have been a ghost. You were too busy with Leah's chemo or Daniel's lungs or Sarah's drama to notice me. I figured out how to survive on my own because I had to. And now you want me to drop everything because you've run out of options?" Mom's face crumpled, and for a second, I thought she'd cry. "We did our best, Ellie. You don't know what it was like, 7 kids, barely enough money to keep the lights on. You were fine. You didn't need us." "That's not true," I said, quieter now. "I needed you. I just didn't scream about it." Dad coughed again, and when he spoke, his voice was hard. "You think you had it rough? Try raising a house full of kids who wouldn't stop breaking. You were the easy one. We didn't have to worry about you." "Maybe you should have," I shot back. "Maybe I wasn't as fine as you thought." The room went silent except for the hum of the oxygen tank. Mom stared at her coffee, and Dad's jaw tightened, but he didn't say anything else. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. "I need some air." Outside, the March wind bit at my face as I walked down the street, hands shoved deep in my pockets. The neighborhood hadn't changed much. Same cracked sidewalks, same rusty mailboxes. I ended up at the old playground where Tara and I used to hang out, the swings creaking in the breeze. I sat on one, my feet dragging in the dirt, and called Jamie. He answered with a yawn. "Hey, Trouble, what's up?" "They want me to move back," I said. "Pay the bills, take care of Dad, like I'm the fix for all their problems." He whistled low. "That's a hell of an ask. What did you say?" "Nothing yet. I yelled at them, though, told them they ignored me growing up. Felt good for about 5 seconds, then just empty." "Sounds about right," he said. "You've been carrying that a long time. Look, Elle, they don't get to guilt you into this. You've got your own shit to live for." "I know," I said, but my voice wavered. "What if he dies, though, and I'm not here?" Jamie was quiet for a moment. "If he dies, it's not on you. You didn't make him sick. You didn't make them lean on you now. That's their mess, not yours." I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. "Thanks, Jamie. Anytime. Tara says hi, by the way. She's baking something ridiculous, think it's a cake with like 3 kinds of frosting." I smiled despite myself. "Tell her to save me a piece." When I got back to the house, Leah was there again, alone this time. She was in the kitchen, chopping carrots for some soup Mom was making. She looked up when I walked in, her face softening. "Hey, you okay?" "Not really," I admitted, leaning against the counter. "You?" She shrugged. "It's a lot. The kids keep me sane, but seeing Dad like this, it's hard." "Yeah." I hesitated, then asked, "Why didn't you ever call me after I left?" Leah paused, the knife hovering over the cutting board. "I wanted to, but you were gone, Ellie, really gone. I figured you didn't want us around, and I was so caught up with my own stuff, marriage, babies, all that. I should have tried harder." Her honesty stung, but it wasn't cruel. I didn't make it easy, I said. I just needed to get out. I get it, she said, but they're scared now. Mom's falling apart. Dad's fading. They're leaning on you because you're the only one who's not broken. That's not fair, I whispered. No, she agreed. It's not. Before I could say more, Mom called from the living room. Ellie, come here. I walked in to find her holding a stack of papers bills, I realized, as she thrust them at me. Look at this. This is what we're dealing with. You need to see it. I scanned the top sheet. Hospital charges, pharmacy receipts, numbers that made my stomach drop. Jesus, I muttered. We're drowning, she said, her voice trembling. You've got to help us. I looked at her, then at Dad, who was watching me with those sunken eyes. And then I saw it, a letter tucked under the pile, half hidden. I pulled it out, my hands unsteady. It was from Michael, the brother who'd run off years ago, dated 6 months back. Mom, Dad, I'm sorry I've been gone. I'm clean now. Got a job in Seattle. I can send some money if you need it. Let me know. Mike. I held it up, my voice shaking. What's this? Mom's face went pale. He wrote a while ago. Said he'd help, but he hasn't sent anything yet. You didn't tell me, I said, the realization hitting like a punch. You've known he's out there and you still called me instead? He's not reliable, Dad cut in. You are. I dropped the papers on the table, my chest tight. I'm done here, I said, and walked out before they could stop me. I drove until I couldn't see the house in my rearview mirror anymore. The road blurred through tears I didn't want to cry, and my hands gripped the wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. Michael's letter burned in my mind, 6 months old, tucked away like a dirty secret while they hunted me down instead. They'd had another option, and they still chose me, not because I was family, but because I was the one they could guilt into bending. I pulled into a gas station 20 miles out, the neon sign buzzing faintly in the dusk. My phone sat heavy in my pocket, and I knew I couldn't keep this inside any longer. I called Tara first. She'd know how to steady me. She answered with a laugh, mid-story about Jamie spilling flour all over her kitchen. Hey, Elle, you caught us in a mess, literally. I need you, I said, my voice breaking. The laughter stopped. What happened? She asked, all business now. I told her everything, the bills, the begging, Michael's letter. My words tumbled out, sharp and messy, until I ran out of breath. They lied, Tara. They've been lying this whole time, and I'm the idiot who came running. You're not an idiot, she said firmly. You're human. They're the ones who screwed up, not you. They think I owe them, I said. Like my whole life's been some free ride I need to pay back now. Bullshit, she snapped. You don't owe them a damn thing. They had years to figure this out, Michael, too, and they're only calling you because you're the one who won't fight back. I fought today, I said, quieter. Yelled at them, walked out. Good, she said. About time. Where are you now? Some gas station. I don't know what to do next. Come here, she said without hesitation. Crash with us. Jamie's got the couch ready, and I've got that stupid cake. We'll figure it out together. I swallowed hard, the lump in my throat easing just a little. Okay, I'll be there in a few hours. Drive safe, she said. We've got you. I hung up and sat there for a while, the hum of the gas pumps filling the silence. Tara and Jamie, they were my anchor, the ones who'd never asked me to prove my worth. I started the car and headed their way, the road stretching out like a lifeline pulling me back to myself. When I got to Tara's place, it was past 10. The lights were on, and I could smell sugar and vanilla through the open window. Jamie met me at the door, his lanky frame filling the frame, and pulled me into a hug that smelled like flour and motor oil. You look like hell, he said, grinning. Thanks, I muttered, but I hugged him back. Tara was in the kitchen, frosting smeared on her cheek, a lopsided cake sitting proudly on the counter. Ta-da, she said, throwing her arms out. It's hideous, but it tastes good. Sit, eat, talk. I collapsed onto a stool, and they didn't push, just handed me a slice and waited. The cake was ridiculous. Layers of chocolate and vanilla mashed together with too much icing, but it was warm and sweet, and for a minute I could breathe. I told them the rest, the parts I hadn't said on the phone. Mom's pleading eyes, Dad's cold, "You're reliable." The way Leah had looked at me like I was her last hope, too. "They're not wrong," I said finally, poking at the cake with my fork. "I am reliable. I've got money saved, no big ties. Maybe I should help." Jamie leaned back, crossing his arms. "Reliable doesn't mean you're their doormat. They've got options. Michael, Leah, hell, even selling that dump of a house. They're just too lazy or scared to use them." "Or too proud," Tara added. "They'd rather guilt you than admit they're desperate enough to call the kid who bailed." I nodded, but the doubt lingered. What if I'm wrong, though? What if I walk away and Dad dies and I hate myself for it? Tara reached across the counter, her hand covering mine. "You're not wrong to want your own life, Elle. You've spent years building it. They don't get to tear it down just because they're scared now," Jamie nodded. "And if he dies, that's on time and cancer, not you. You're not God." I stayed the night, curled up on their couch with Juniper's carrier next to me. She'd been in the car, bless her, quiet as ever. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a voicemail from Mom. I played it on speaker, Tara and Jamie listening over coffee. "Ellie, it's me," she said, her voice thin and shaky. "I'm sorry about yesterday. We didn't mean to upset you, but your dad's worse. He's in the hospital now. They don't know how long he's got. Please come back. We need you." I stared at the phone, my stomach twisting. Tara raised an eyebrow. "Trap or truth?" "Both," I said. "He's probably sick enough for the hospital, but the 'we need you,' that's the hook." Jamie snorted. "Classic. They're reeling you in." I didn't answer right away. I wanted to believe it was just manipulation, but the image of Dad in a hospital bed, tubes, monitors, that hollow look clawed at me. I'd seen Leah like that once, and it had broken something in me I hadn't fixed. Could I live with not seeing him one last time? "I'll go," I said finally. "One more time, but I'm not staying. I'll see him, say what I need to, and I'm out." Tara nodded, firm. "We're coming with you. Back up." "You don't have to." "Shut up," Jamie said, grinning. "We're a package deal." We drove back that afternoon, the three of us crammed into my car with Juniper in the back. The hospital was a squat, gray building on the edge of town, all antiseptic and flickering lights. Mom was in the waiting room, her eyes red-rimmed, and when she saw me, she stood up fast. "Ellie, thank God." "Where is he?" I asked, keeping my distance. "Room 204. He's awake but weak." I nodded, then glanced at Tara and Jamie. "Wait here?" "Yep," Tara said. "Holler if you need us." I walked down the hall alone, my sneakers squeaking on the linoleum. Room 204 was dim, the beep of machines steady and slow. Dad looked smaller than ever, swallowed by the bed, his skin almost gray. He turned his head when I came in, and a faint smile flickered. "Hey, kid." "Hey," I said, stopping a few feet away. "How you feeling?" "Like shit," he said, and coughed a weak, rattling sound. "Guess this is it, huh?" "Maybe," I said. "I don't know." He nodded, like that was fair. "Your mom's a wreck. Keep saying you're gonna save us." "I'm not," I said, and the words came out harder than I meant. "I can't. I've got my own life, Dad. I'm not moving back, not paying your bills. I came to see you, that's all." His eyes narrowed, but he didn't argue. "You're mad." "Yeah," I said. "I am. You and Mom, you never saw me, and now you want me to fix everything because I'm the one who didn't fall apart. That's not fair." He was quiet for a long time, the machines filling the gap. Then he said, "We fucked up, didn't we?" I blinked, caught off guard. "Yeah, you did." "I'm sorry," he said, and his voice broke. "Didn't mean to lose you." I didn't know what to say. It was the first time he'd ever apologized, and it hit me like a brick, too late, too small, but real. I nodded, my throat tight. "I'm sorry you're sick." We sat there, the silence stretching thin. Then I said, "Goodbye, Dad," and walked out. I stepped out of Dad's room and leaned against the wall, my breath shaky. The hospital air was thick with that sterile smell, alcohol, and despair, and it clung to me like damp clothes. His apology echoed in my head, small and cracked, but it was something. Not enough to erase the years of silence, not enough to make me stay, but enough to loosen the knot in my chest just a little. I'd said what I needed to. That had to be enough. Tara and Jamie were still in the waiting room, sprawled across plastic chairs like they owned the place. Tara looked up first, her eyes sharp. "You good?" I nodded, sinking into the seat next to her. "Yeah, I think so." "Said goodbye." Jamie raised an eyebrow. "That it?" "For now," I said. "He's sorry, sort of. Doesn't change anything." Mom came around the corner then, her purse clutched tight, her face a mess of worry and hope. She saw Tara and Jamie and hesitated, like she wasn't sure what to make of them. "Ellie," she said, ignoring them. "Did you talk to him?" "Yeah," I said. "He's hanging in there." She nodded, quick and jerky. "So you'll stay? Help us out?" I took a deep breath, feeling Tara's hand brush my arm, a quiet, "You've got this." "No, Mom, I'm not staying. I came to see him, and I did. But I'm not moving back, and I'm not taking this on." Her mouth opened, then closed like she couldn't find the words. "But we need—" "I know what you need," I cut in. "Steady now. And I'm sorry you're in this. But I've got my own life friends, a job, a home. I can't give it up because you're out of options. You've got Michael. He wrote you. Call him. Sell the house. Figure it out. I'm not your fix." Her eyes welled up and she shook her head. "You're abandoning us. After everything." "Everything?" I said, my voice rising despite myself. "What everything? You barely knew I was there growing up. I was the quiet one, the easy one, so you let me fend for myself. I built something anyway, without you. Don't guilt me for that now." She flinched, and for a second I thought she'd argue. But then her shoulders sagged, and she just looked older than I'd ever seen her. "I didn't know how to do it better," she whispered. "We were drowning." "I get that," I said, softer. "But I was drowning too. You didn't see it." She didn't answer, just stood there, tears spilling over. I wanted to hug her, to take it all back, but I didn't. I couldn't. Jamie stood up then, clapping a hand on my shoulder. "We should go, Elle. Long drive." "Yeah," I said, glancing at Mom. "Take care, okay? Call Leah if you need her, or Michael." She nodded, barely, and I walked away. Tara and Jamie flanking me like a shield. We didn't talk much on the drive back, just the hum of the engine and the soft scratch of Juniper purring in her carrier. I kept replaying it. Dad's sorry, Mom's tears, the weight lifting off me even as it left a bruise. Back at my apartment, we crashed hard. Tara took the couch, Jamie sprawled on the floor with a blanket, and I curled up in my bed with Juniper. The next day, they stuck around, made breakfast, dragged me out to the park, kept me laughing. It was simple, messy, real. They didn't ask me to be anything but me. A week later, Leah called. "Dad's gone," she said, her voice thick. "Last night, it was quick." I sat down hard, the phone cold against my ear. "I'm sorry," I said, and I meant it. "Me too," she said. "Mom's a wreck. She's mad you didn't stay, but I get why you didn't." "Thanks," I said. "You okay?" "Getting there. Kids keep me busy. You?" "Same," I lied, then corrected myself. "No, I'm sad, but I'm okay. I've got people here." "Good," she said. "Don't disappear again, all right?" "I won't," I promised, and we hung up. The funeral came and went. I didn't go. Leah sent pictures. Mom in black, Daniel looking lost, a small crowd of faces I half remembered. I sent flowers and a check, a couple $100 I could spare. It wasn't much, but it was what I could give without breaking myself. Months passed, and the calls stopped. Mom didn't reach out again, pride or exhaustion. I couldn't tell. Leah texted sometimes, pictures of her kids, updates on life. Michael never showed, and I didn't ask. The house got sold, I heard, and Mom moved in with Leah. They figured it out, like I'd said they would. I kept going, work, friends, quiet nights with Juniper. Tara and Jamie stayed close, our little trio unbreakable. One night, we were at Tara's eating takeout on her porch, the air warm with spring. Jamie was mid-story about fixing a busted carburetor, and Tara was laughing so hard she nearly choked on her noodles. I watched them, these people who'd chosen me when no one else had, and it hit me, sharp and clear. Family wasn't the blood I'd been born into, the ones who'd overlooked me until they needed a lifeline. It was this, the ones who saw me, who stayed, who didn't ask me to carry their weight. I'd spent years aching for something I'd never had, but I'd built it anyway, piece by piece, with Tara's freckled grin and Jamie's stupid jokes and a cat who slept on my chest. I didn't hate my parents, not anymore. They'd done what they could with what they had, and it hadn't been enough. I felt sorry for them, even, stuck in a mess they couldn't escape. But I wasn't stuck. I'd gotten out, and I'd made something better. "Earth to Ellie," Tara said, waving a chopstick at me. "You in there?" "Yeah," I said, smiling. "Right here." "Good," Jamie said, tossing me a fortune cookie. "Read it. Bet it says you're stuck with us forever." I cracked it open, the little slip of paper curling in my hand. "The journey is the reward." I laughed, tucking it into my pocket. Close enough. And it was.